I was honored when ANCOR asked me to present this award, the National DSP Award. This is always my absolute favorite part of the conference. Actually, my favorite part of any conference. I've told some people don't miss it. I'm just really excited to be a part of it. I was asked not only because the award winner is from Kentucky, yay, and not only because he was the first statewide DSP winner of our association's inaugural conference last fall, CAP. The reason I was asked is personal. It was because on December 7th, 2014, I had the blessing and the unique experience to observe Josh Alford in his role as a Crisis Response Specialist, or CRS. We have to use acronyms in this field. Josh was the professional that night, and I was the family member of the person in crisis that he was supporting. I'll tell you more about that in a moment, but first I want to tell you more about this outstanding direct support professional, and he truly approaches his work as a professional. Josh Alford is a first responder in the truest sense of the word. He's also a DSP who has hauled cattle around the country in big rigs, spent 6 years working as a carpenter, and grew up in southeast Kentucky working on dairy farms. And he's only 28 years old. But he found his calling at independent opportunities like Cumberland in Somerset, Kentucky, a small town of about 11,000. I can't ever imagine doing anything else now, he says of his position as a CRS. My job has become way more than just a job. As a CRS, he is the person on call 24/7 for emergency situations in the agency's 48 staffed residence homes, to take someone to the emergency room or make sure they get the correct medical treatment if sick or injured, to calm serious behavioral situations, or to assist with any other general emergencies. He works 14 days on and 7 days off. In my spare time, I also deliver meds to the homes, Josh said. This keeps me in touch with everyone and gives me a chance to stay connected to people I've helped so I can keep up with them. When you hear him talk about his work, it is clear that it's not work to him. I try to put everybody before myself. I try to never look at anything I do as a job. I'm not in this for the money. If you're in it for the money, then you're not giving 100%, he says. I found out pretty quickly that I was naturally good at this. I just fell into it. This was never a field I thought about being in. I was going to be a school teacher and teach shop, but truthfully now I can't ever imagine doing anything else. Before joining Independent Opportunities, he worked as a carpenter for 6 years at Bluegrass Oakwood, an independent care facility in Somerset that supports people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I fell in love with the people we supported there, and when I got laid off, I became a DSP at Independent Opportunities where my girlfriend worked. He explained, "Best move I ever made coming to work here." Josh's supervisor describes him in this way: he's perfect for this job. He's patient, unselfish, and very understanding. He has a vivid imagination and a wonderful sense of humor. He displays integrity, responsibility, and dedication in all aspects of his life, she says. He's very non-assertive, more on the quiet side, but he has no trouble speaking with anyone. And he's so reliable and so good at what he does. There's not a lazy bone in his body. Josh and his fiancée, Nicole, are also foster parents to twin girls who are medically fragile, born prematurely due to their mother's addictions. They are in the process of adopting the girls now. Nicole is the family home provider coordinator for IO and works days. She worked for me, so I'm really proud of her too. I also just learned yesterday at lunch that she's a full-time college student taking online classes late at night, pursuing her degree in psychology so she can further herself in this field. So when Josh is on his 2-week shift, they obviously see each other very little, but somehow they make it all work and make it seem very easy. Josh's winning application submitted by his supervisor states, patience, selflessness, and understanding, 3 traits of an outstanding DSP. But Josh is much more than that. He's also a mentor, a friend, a foster parent, and an outstanding advocate for those we support. Others may wonder how he can handle all of the negative situations he's faced with and still remain positive in this field. He thrives on having a positive impact and bettering each life he comes in contact with. He doesn't just fix problems on the surface. He finds the issue in order to help each person work toward overcoming whatever they may be facing. Josh will also tell you he has a strategy to cope with the negative aspects of the job. I stay upbeat and positive, and I can attest to that. He always is. I try not to dwell on the negative. You have to. When you're having a bad day, you don't want someone else to have a bad day with you, he explained. You can't help somebody be happy and healthy if you're not that way yourself. I've got everything in the world to be thankful for. more. I'm lucky. Sometimes all someone needs is someone positive to help them out a little. In his position, he says, I see everybody at their worst, but I try to be a friend to everyone. It's easy in this field to become callous and not have time or take the time to sit down and really listen to someone. I try to keep myself from falling into that. I'd be lying, though, if I said I didn't love my job. I mean, I really love it. It's amazing, right? It is. So now let me try to finish the story about the night of December 7th, 2014. Those of you who know me at all know that I had an uncle, Gary, with Down syndrome and profound developmental disabilities. He was just a few years older than me and undoubtedly was the inspiration for my work today. Uncle Gary was not expected to live beyond 9 or 10 years old, but with loving family and then a transition to a wonderful community life as an adult, he flourished and was happy. We were able to celebrate his 50th birthday with him in August of 2014. It was a great day. Later that year, though, on December 7th, I received a phone call that I always knew was coming, but dreaded nonetheless. To support my uncle in his life surely meant that sometime I would support him in his death. He had suffered, when I got the call, they told me that he had suffered a massive heart attack in his home during the night. His caring staff revived him, and he made it to the hospital, which was just a gift to us that we were able to say goodbye and spend a couple of days talking to him and making decisions. When I got the call, I then called Gary's guardians and siblings, which was one of the harder calls I've ever had to make as an administrator. Those guardians happened to be my father and my aunt, and took them to the emergency room in Somerset. When we got to the ER, who was there waiting for us but the agency's crisis responder, Josh. I didn't really know Josh that well then. I knew who he was and what he did. But it was a surreal moment to be an administrator and then to observe this person doing his job from the perspective of a family member during a very difficult time. I did notice, though, and was able to witness how perfectly suited he is for the job. I'll never forget that. His demeanor is just incredible, and it really struck me when we were there in the waiting room for hours. He's not shy, I wouldn't say, but like his supervisor described him, he's just respectful and thoughtful. He had all the information we needed when we got to the ER, but he stood off to the side and was just there for us. And I think this is a skill that's hard to describe and it's impossible to teach. But he didn't offer inappropriate comfort to us, if that makes sense. People try to do that sometimes, and he just didn't, and it was notable. Then the little things. He had a bag of vending machine change for us, phone chargers, anything we needed. It was just so thoughtful. Whatever we needed, he'd go get it for us. Later that morning when his shift ended, he went home and showered and came back to sit with us off his shift. Josh didn't do that because I used to be the regional director of his agency, and he didn't do that because I'm the president of the state association. He did it because he cared for my uncle and truly understood his role. That's just who Josh is, and I thank God for him and all of you like Josh that do these jobs every day. So thankful as a family member and as an administrator. So thank you for letting me share that story. Finally, though, I'll get on to the good stuff. It's my absolute honor to introduce you to my friend and your National DSP of the Year, Josh Alford.
Looks like a lot more of y'all when I'm standing up there. But anyway, this is an honor. It's a huge honor. It's an honor I never expected. But it is an honor I'm so grateful that I got. I've got to meet so many people up here that share my passion for advocating for people that may not be able to advocate for themselves. People who's made it their life's mission to help others. People who have true selflessness and compassion. All these other DSPs, I was getting choked up sitting there. Like, they're awesome. So I'm actually looking forward to, after this, getting able to talk to everybody. But anyway, go back on book here. When I started in this field, I was nervous. I'd heard all the horror stories. I didn't know what to expect, but it didn't take long for me to realize, this is what I want to do. This is my career. This is me now. And I know it can be stressful. The hours are long, but it's not easy. But anything you do that's worth doing is not easy. And if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I can proudly say I've not worked in years. Excuse me. I'd like to take a moment to thank a person that's actually got me into this career. I was lucky enough I got to go into work with a smile every day and come home with a smile every day. She was a person that's, if someone's voice wasn't getting heard, you better believe you're going to hear her voice. She's a mother of my children and someone I'm proud to be able to call my wife, or will be able to call my wife. We're getting there. We just got a couple more months. But anyway, I'd like to thank Nicole. Thank you, Dana. In this field, I've been able to do things. I've been able to help people do things that they thought they'd never be able to do. Some big, some small. I've helped somebody realize a dream of riding in a semi for the first time. Or help somebody go watch WWE live for the first time. Or something as simple as writing a letter to your family that they haven't seen in years. And then all the way to the other end of the spectrum. I've been there to sit in the hospital while someone takes their last breath. More times than what I'd like to say. But, it's not always easy, but it's got its good days and bad, right? Anyway, thank you again for this great honor, and more importantly, thank you all for everything you do for the people that we support. Thank you.
I think you all see what I've seen now, right? Just a special surprise for Josh. There's an iPad donated to the DSP of the Year, courtesy of SEFCU Insurance. So.
Thank you, Shannon, and thank you, Josh. Just a couple quick housekeeping announcements for all the DSP honorees. When you go out, if you wanted a box for your award, they're at the registration desk. And also, when we wrap here in just a minute, again, all DSPs, please come to the front of the room. And selfishly, I'd also like to ask all ResCare folks to kind of hang in the room because we want a big group picture with our DSPs as well. Right after we wrap in here, lunch is immediately next door. Hope to see you all over.